I was sitting in the passenger seat of Sarah's silver Honda, chatting about Emma's upcoming school play, when those flashing red and blue lights appeared in the rearview mirror. Sarah pulled over, her hands trembling slightly as she fumbled for her license. The officer approached, asked for her documentation, and walked back to his patrol car. Minutes passed. When he returned, his entire demeanor had changed. He looked tense, almost afraid. He motioned for me to step out. "Ma'am, listen carefully. Do not go home. Find a safe place." I was frozen. "Why?" He hesitated, glancing at Sarah's pale face. "Something terrible." He handed me a folded paper. My hands shook as I unfolded that paper in the back of the police cruiser. What I saw made my blood turn to ice. There was Sarah's face staring back at me, but underneath it read, "Jennifer Walsh, wanted for kidnapping and child endangerment." The officer, whose badge read Martinez, sat across from me in the station, his voice gentle but firm. "Mom, your daughter-in-law has been using a false identity for the past 3 years. Her real name is Jennifer Walsh, and she's wanted in Oregon for kidnapping 2 children from their biological father during a custody dispute." I stared at the missing person flyer, my mind refusing to process what I was seeing. The photo was definitely Sarah, but younger, with shorter hair. The description matched perfectly. 5 feet 6 inches tall, brown hair, brown eyes, distinctive scar above her left eyebrow, from what Shed told us was a childhood accident. "That's impossible," I whispered. "She's been married to my son Mark for 3 years. Emma and Tyler are her children from her previous marriage. She told us their father died in a car accident." Officer Martinez leaned forward, his expression sympathetic but serious. "Mrs. Patterson, those children she's been raising as her own? Their real names are Lily and Mason Chen. Their father, David Chen, has been searching for them since they disappeared from Portland 3 years ago." The room started spinning. I gripped the edge of the metal table, trying to steady myself, but Emma calls her mama. Tyler runs to her when he's scared. They love her. She loves them. According to our records, Jennifer Walsh was employed as a nanny for the Chen family. After David Chen's wife died of cancer, Miss Walsh became increasingly attached to the children. The custody situation became contentious when David started dating again. Jennifer convinced herself that the children would be better off with her as their mother figure. I thought about all the times Sarah had deflected questions about her family background, how she never had any photos from her childhood, how Shed gotten nervous when Emma's teacher asked about emergency contacts beyond Mark and me, how Shed insisted they couldn't visit her hometown because it held too many painful memories. She gradually turned the children against their father. Officer Martinez continued, started telling them he didn't love them anymore, that he was going to send them away. Then one day, she simply disappeared with them during what was supposed to be a supervised visit. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. What about the father? David Chen? What kind of man is he? Has a pediatric surgeon at Oregon Health and Science University. No criminal record, stellar reputation. Has been working with private investigators and law enforcement across multiple states. He never stopped looking for his children, Mrs. Patterson. He loves them desperately." I buried my face in my hands. The grandchildren I'd grown to adore, who called me Grandma Dana, who climbed into my lap for bedtime stories, weren't really my grandchildren at all. They were stolen babies whose real father had been searching for them in agony for 3 years. "There's something else you need to know," Officer Martinez said quietly. "Your son Mark might be completely unaware of his wife's true identity. Based on our investigation, she's been very careful to maintain her false persona. She likely targeted him specifically because he seemed like a stable man who wouldn't ask too many questions about her past." The betrayal cut deep. Not just Sarah's betrayal of the children's father, but her manipulation of my son, Mark, who had been so happy when he introduced us to his new family. Mark, who worked double shifts to provide for them. Mark, who proudly showed pictures of his children to everyone at the construction company. "What happens now?" I asked, my voice barely audible. "We need your help, Mrs. Patterson. Right now, Miss Walsh doesn't know we've identified her. We need to handle this carefully to ensure the children's safety and to minimize trauma. Can you contact your son without alerting her? I nodded, though my hands were still trembling. Yes, I can ask him to meet me somewhere. But, Officer Martinez? What about my son? This is going to destroy him. And the children? They think Sarah is their mother. They've been with her for 3 years. They won't remember their real father. We have specialists who deal with these situations, ma'am. The most important thing right now is getting those children back to their biological father safely. According to our records, one of them, the girl Emma, has a serious medical condition that requires ongoing treatment. My blood ran cold. What kind of medical condition? She has a rare heart defect that requires specialized medication and regular monitoring. Her father has been terrified that she's not receiving proper medical care. I thought about how Sarah always handled Emma's doctor visits alone, never letting Mark or me accompany them. How she'd brush off our concerns when Emma seemed tired or pale. How she'd insist that Emma was just sensitive and needed extra rest. Mrs. Patterson, I need you to understand something. Every day those children remain with Jennifer Walsh, they're in potential danger, not just from the medical neglect, but because she's demonstrated that she's willing to run when she feels threatened. If she realizes we're closing in, she might disappear again, and this time, we might never find them. I stood up on shaky legs, gripping my purse tightly. What do you need me to do? I called Mark from my cell phone in the police station parking lot, my voice carefully controlled, despite the chaos raging in my heart. Honey, can you meet me at Miller's Coffee House on Elm Street? I need to discuss something important about your father's estate and some financial planning. Sure, Mom. Is everything okay? You sound a little strange. Everything's fine, dear. Just some paperwork I need your signature on. Can you come alone? I know Sarah's busy with the children's afternoon activities. 20 minutes later, I watched my son walk through the coffee shop door, his work clothes dusty from the construction site. At 35, Mark still had that eager expression Head had as a boy whenever I needed his help with something important. My heart broke knowing I was about to shatter his world. He slid into the booth across from me, ordering a black coffee from the waitress. So, what's this about Dad's estate? I thought we'd settled everything after the funeral. I pulled the missing person flyer from my purse, my hands trembling slightly. Mark, I need you to look at something, and I need you to stay calm. He took the paper, his brow furrowing in confusion. I watched his face change as recognition dawned. The color drained from his cheeks, and his hands started shaking. Mom, this is some kind of mistake. This looks like Sarah, but her name isn't Jennifer Walsh. She's Sarah Collins. Her maiden name was Johnson before we got married. Mark, honey, I was pulled over with Sarah today. The police ran her license, and this is what came up. She's been using false identification for 3 years. Emma and Tyler aren't her biological children. Mark's coffee cup slipped from his hands, splattering hot liquid across the table. That's impossible. I've seen Emma's birth certificate. Tyler's too. They have Sarah's name on them. Forged documents, sweetheart. The children's real names are Lily and Mason Chen. Their father has been searching for them since Sarah kidnapped them from Portland 3 years ago. My son's face went through a series of expressions: confusion, denial, anger, and finally, a horrible understanding. He buried his face in his hands, his shoulders shaking. Oh God, Mom, oh God, what have I done? What do you mean, Mark? He looked up at me, his eyes red with unshed tears. I've had suspicions for months, maybe longer. Sarah never talks about her past. She gets panicked whenever anyone asks about the children's father. She won't let me contact any of her family members, says they're all dead or estranged. I leaned forward, taking his hands in mine. What else? Honey, about 6 months ago, I found fake IDs in her purse. Different names, different birth dates. When I confronted her about it, she said they were left over from when she was in an abusive relationship and needed to hide from her ex-husband. She made it sound so believable, like she was protecting herself and the children. Mark's voice cracked. But there were other things too. Emma sometimes calls out for someone named Daddy in her sleep, not me, someone else. And Tyler. He used to ask about his other house when we first got married. Sarah would get so upset when he mentioned it that he stopped talking about it. The children remember their real father, Mark. Deep down, they remember. I found medical records too. Mom, Emma has some kind of heart condition that requires special medication. I saw the prescription bottles hidden in Sarah's bedroom. They weren't from any doctor we'd taken Emma to see. The prescriptions were from a Dr. Chen in Portland. My hands flew to my mouth. Dr. Chen is their father, Mark. Has a pediatric surgeon. Has been treating Emma's condition. Mark slammed his fist on the table, causing other customers to look over. I'm such an idiot, Mom. I suspected something was wrong, but I convinced myself I was being paranoid. I loved those kids so much, and Sarah seemed to love them too. I thought maybe she was just protecting us from some dangerous situation in her past. You wanted to believe the best in someone you loved? That doesn't make you a bad person. But I enabled this, Mom. For 3 years, I helped a kidnapper keep stolen children from their father. Some man has been going crazy, wondering if his babies are alive or dead, and I was playing daddy to them. The anguish in my son's voice was heartbreaking. Mark, you couldn't have known. Sarah was very sophisticated in her deception. What happens now? Do I go to jail for harboring a fugitive? I squeezed his hands tighter. The police said you were likely another victim in this situation, but we need to figure out how to handle this carefully. Sarah doesn't know that her identity has been discovered yet. Mark wiped his eyes with a napkin. The kids, Mom, Emma, and Tyler, they love me. They call me Daddy. If they go back to their real father, I'll never see them again. I know, sweetheart. I love them too. But we have to think about what's best for them, not what's best for us. What do you mean? Emma needs proper medical care for her heart condition. She could die if she doesn't get the right treatment. And both children deserve to be with their real father, who loves them and has been searching for them. Mark nodded slowly, though tears continued streaming down his face. You're right. I know you're right, but this is going to kill me. Mom, it's going to be hard on all of us. But we have to do the right thing. What about Sarah? I mean, Jennifer. I don't even know what to call her anymore. She needs help, Mark. What she did was wrong. But she's obviously been suffering from some kind of mental breakdown. She convinced herself that taking those children was an act of love. Mark stared out the coffee shop window for a long moment. I think part of me has always known something was wrong. Sarah would have nightmares sometimes, calling out apologies to someone. She'd wake up crying and refuse to tell me what the dreams were about. Guilt has a way of manifesting itself. Mom, there's something else. Mark's voice dropped to a whisper. Sarah's pregnant. We just found out last month. She's about 12 weeks along. My heart sank. The situation had just become infinitely more complicated. Detective Rodriguez met us at the police station an hour later. A kind-faced woman in her 40s with graying hair and gentle eyes that had probably seen too much human suffering. She spread a file folder across the conference table, filled with photographs and documents that would change our understanding of everything. Mr. Patterson, Mrs. Patterson, I want to start by showing you who David Chen really is. She placed a photograph on the table. A handsome Asian American man in his late 30s, wearing surgical scrubs, holding 2 beautiful children. Dr. David Chen, pediatric surgeon at Oregon Health and Science University. This photo was taken about 4 years ago, before his wife Linda died of breast cancer. I studied the photograph closely. The little girl had Emma's distinctive dimpled smile and the same way of tilting her head when she was curious. The boy had Tyler's mischievous grin and those same bright brown eyes. After Linda passed away, David struggled to balance his demanding medical career with single parenthood. He hired Jennifer Walsh through a reputable nanny agency. She had excellent references and seemed wonderful with the children. Detective Rodriguez placed another photo on the table, this one showing Sarah, or Jennifer, playing with the children in what looked like a beautiful backyard. She looked happy and natural with them, genuinely caring. Initially, the arrangement worked well. Jennifer was devoted to the children and seemed to help them cope with their mother's death. But over time, she became possessive. She started making decisions about their care without consulting David. She convinced the children to call her Mama Jen. Then just Mama. Mark winced. She had them calling her Mama when I met her. I thought it was natural. When David started dating again, about 18 months after his wife's death, Jennifer became increasingly hostile. She told the children that their father didn't love them anymore, that he was going to replace them with a new family. She scheduled activities during David's time with the children, making it difficult for him to maintain his relationship with them. Detective Rodriguez opened a thick folder. David tried to work with Jennifer, even offering to increase her salary and give her more flexible hours, but her behavior became erratic. She would call in sick when David had important surgeries, forcing him to cancel or find emergency childcare. What finally happened? I asked. David made the difficult decision to terminate Jennifer's employment. He found another nanny through a different agency and gave Jennifer 2 weeks' notice with generous severance pay. That's when she filed false reports with Child Protective Services, claiming David was neglecting the children's medical needs and was psychologically abusive. My stomach turned. Were the allegations investigated thoroughly? CPS found no evidence of abuse or neglect. David's medical colleagues vouched for his character, and the children's, teachers, and pediatricians saw no signs of problems. The case was closed, and David was awarded full custody with Jennifer allowed supervised visitation only. But that wasn't enough for her, Mark said quietly. No. During what was supposed to be a supervised visit at a local park, Jennifer simply vanished with the children. By the time David realized they weren't coming home, Jennifer had a 12-hour head start. She'd been planning it for weeks. Detective Rodriguez showed us a map with red pins marking locations across multiple states. We believe Jennifer moved frequently for the first year, probably staying in motels and changing her appearance. She eventually settled in Nevada for about 8 months before coming here to Arizona. How did she create new identities for herself and the children? She had help from someone with experience in document forgery. We're still investigating that connection. But she was very thorough. New birth certificates, social security numbers, medical records. She even created a fake death certificate for herself as Jennifer Walsh, making it harder for David to track her. Detective Rodriguez pulled out another photograph. David Chen sitting alone in what looked like a child's bedroom, holding a small pink teddy bear. He looked devastated. David has spent over $100,000 on private investigators. Hess followed leads across 14 states. Has never given up hope. But the trail had gone cold until yesterday when your local police ran Jennifer's license. I wiped tears from my eyes. Those poor children. They must be so confused. There's more you need to understand about their medical situation. Lily, who you know as Emma, has a condition called hypoplastic left heart syndrome. It's a rare congenital heart defect that requires ongoing medication and regular monitoring by a pediatric cardiologist. Mark's face went pale. Sarah takes Emma to the doctor, but she never lets us come along. She says Emma just has mild anemia and needs iron supplements. According to David's medical records, Lily requires specialized medication that costs about $3,000 per month. Without it, she could go into heart failure. We believe Jennifer has been giving her over-the-counter children's vitamins instead. The room felt like it was closing in around me. Is Emma in immediate danger? Potentially, yes. Her last legitimate medical evaluation was 3 years ago. David has been terrified that she might die without proper care. Detective Rodriguez showed us school photos of the children from their time in Portland. They looked happier somehow, more carefree. Emma's complexion was rosier, and Tyler looked more energetic. The children have been showing signs of emotional distress as well. Their teachers here in Arizona have reported that Emma sometimes seems confused about her identity. She's drawn pictures of a different house, with a man she calls my real daddy. Tyler has asked his kindergarten teacher why he can't go home to his old room. They remember, I whispered. Children are resilient, but they don't forget their early attachments easily. Both children were deeply bonded to their father. David was very involved in their daily care, even with his demanding schedule. He coached Tyler's t-ball team and never missed Emma's dance recitals. Mark stood up and walked to the window. I love those kids like they're my own flesh and blood. But hearing this, knowing they have a father who loves them and has been searching for them, I can't keep them from him. Mr. Patterson, we need your help to reunite these children with their father safely. Right now, Jennifer doesn't know her cover has been blown. If she realizes we're on to her, she might run again. What do you need us to do? We need you to act normally when you go home today. Don't confront Jennifer directly. We're coordinating with David Chen to come here from Portland. He wants to handle the reunion carefully, with child psychologists present to minimize trauma to the children. Detective Rodriguez handed me a business card. Dr. Chen specifically asked me to give you this message. He knows you've been caring for his children as your own grandchildren, and he's grateful for the love you've shown them. He doesn't want to punish you or your son for being victims of Jennifer's deception. I clutched the business card, feeling a mixture of relief and heartbreak. When will we meet him? Tomorrow morning. Hes driving down tonight. But Mrs. Patterson, there's something else we need to discuss. We have reason to believe Jennifer might be planning to run again. What do you mean? We've been monitoring her financial activity since yesterday. She's withdrawn several $1,000s in cash and has been researching flights to Mexico. We think she knows her time here is running out. When Mark and I returned to the house that evening, we found Sarah frantically packing suitcases in the master bedroom. Children's clothes were scattered across the bed, and I could hear Emma and Tyler in their rooms, also packing their belongings into small backpacks. Sarah, what's going on? Mark asked, his voice carefully controlled despite the turmoil I knew he was feeling. She looked up from the suitcase, her face flushed, and her hands shaking. We need to leave, Mark. Tonight. I got a call from my cousin in California. There's been a family emergency, and I need to go help her immediately. I watched my daughter-in-law's face as she lied so effortlessly. Even now, knowing what I knew, part of me wanted to believe her. She'd been such a convincing actress for 3 years. What kind of emergency? Mark pressed. Maybe we can help from here. Her husband was in a terrible car accident. She needs someone to help with her children while she's at the hospital. I might need to stay for several weeks. Mark sat down on the edge of the bed. Sarah, you can't just pull Emma and Tyler out of school in the middle of the semester, and what about my job? I can't just take weeks off without notice. Sarah's packing became more frantic. You don't understand, Mark. This is family. Emma and Tyler need to meet their extended family. They've never had the chance before. I noticed that Sarah was packing far more than would be needed for a temporary visit. Winter coats, formal clothes, favorite toys, everything the children owned. Sarah, I said quietly, this seems like more than a temporary trip. She stopped packing and turned to face us, her expression shifting from frantic to cold. Dana, I need to ask you something. Did you call the police today? My blood froze. What do you mean? After we were pulled over this afternoon, I saw you talking to that officer for a very long time. Then you disappeared for hours before coming home. What did you tell them? Mark looked confused. Mom, what is she talking about? Sarah's eyes were fixed on mine, and I could see desperation mixed with calculation. Your mother has never liked me, Mark. She's always thought you could do better. I think she's been investigating my background, trying to find something to turn you against me. That's not true, I said, but my voice sounded weak, even to my own ears. Isn't it? Sarah pulled out her phone. I've been getting strange calls all day, people asking questions about my past, about Emma and Tyler's father. Someone's been giving out our information. Mark stood up, looking back and forth between us. What's going on? Sarah, you're scaring me. Sarah walked to Mark and took his hands in hers. Baby, I need you to trust me right now. There are things about my past that I haven't told you, things that could put our family in danger. What kind of things? Emma and Tyler's father wasn't the good man I told you about. He was abusive, Mark, violent. When I left him, I had to create new identities for myself and the children to keep us safe. I watched in horror as Sarah spun an elaborate web of lies, making herself the victim and the children's real father into a monster. Why didn't you tell me this before? Mark asked. Because I was afraid. afraid that if anyone knew where we were, he might find us. But somehow he's tracked us down. That's why people have been calling, asking questions, has hired investigators to find us. Mark looked torn, wanting to believe the woman had married, but something in his expression told me he was beginning to see through her performance. Sarah, if that's true, then we should go to the police for protection. They can help us. No. Sarah's response was too sharp, too panicked. The police can't help us. He has connections, Mark. Money. Hell convinced them that I'm the bad person. Emma appeared in the doorway, holding her favorite stuffed rabbit. Mama, why are we packing? Are we moving again? Moving again. Those words hit me like a physical blow. Emma remembered moving before. Sarah rushed to Emma and knelt down beside her. We're going on a trip, sweetheart. A long trip to see family. Will Daddy Mark come with us? Emma asked. Sarah hesitated just a moment too long. Daddy Mark has to work, but he'll meet us later. Tyler bounced into the room carrying his toy cars. Are we going back to our old house? The one with the big tree in the yard? Sarah's face went white. No, baby. We're going somewhere new, but I want to see my other daddy, Tyler said innocently. The one who used to push me on the swings. Mark knelt down next to Tyler. Buddy, what other daddy? Sarah quickly stepped between them. Tyler's just confused. He sometimes mixes up his dreams with reality. But Tyler persisted. He had a white coat and smelled like the hospital. He used to read me stories about dinosaurs. Mark looked up at Sarah, and I could see understanding beginning to dawn on his face. Sarah, we need to talk. Kids, can you go finish packing your toys? After Emma and Tyler left the room, Mark confronted Sarah directly. Tell me the truth. All of it. Sarah began to cry. Big theatrical tears that might have been convincing if I didn't know what I knew. Mark, I love you so much. I love our family, but if we don't leave tonight, we're going to lose everything. Who is their real father? Sarah. Hez a dangerous man. Mark. He threatened to take the children away from me, to make sure I never saw them again. I had to protect them. Mark's voice was getting stronger, more determined. What's his name? It doesn't matter. What matters is that he can't find us. Is his name David Chen? Sarah's face crumpled completely. How do you know that name? Mark pulled out his phone. I'm calling the police. No. Wait. Sarah rushed to him and grabbed the phone. Mark, please. I'm pregnant with your baby. Are you really going to choose strangers over your own family? Pregnant women don't run away to Mexico, Sarah. She froze. What did you say? I know about the plane tickets. I know about the cash withdrawals. I know Emma and Tyler aren't your children. Sarah backed away from us, her hand instinctively moving to her stomach. You don't understand what you're doing, Mark. If you call the police, you'll never see me again. You'll never see your baby. And if I don't call them, 2 children who've been stolen from their father will disappear forever. Sarah ran to her dresser and pulled out a small handgun from the top drawer. My heart stopped. Sarah, put that down, Mark said firmly. I'm not going to hurt anyone, she said, her voice shaking. But I'm not going to let you ruin our family either. Emma and Tyler belong with me. I've been their mother for 3 years. I'm the one who comforts them when they have nightmares. I'm the one who knows they like their sandwiches cut diagonally and that Tyler is afraid of thunderstorms. You're also the one who's been denying Emma proper medical care, I said quietly. What do you mean? Emma has a serious heart condition, Sarah. She needs specialized medication that you haven't been giving her. For the first time, Sarah looked genuinely confused. Emma just has mild anemia. I give her iron supplements every day. She has hypoplastic left heart syndrome. Without proper treatment, she could die. Sarah shook her head violently. That's not true. David was always making up problems with the children. He was obsessed with medical issues, always dragging them to unnecessary doctor appointments. Hez a pediatric surgeon. Sarah, he was trying to save his daughter's life. Something in Sarah's expression began to crack. For just a moment, I saw through the delusion to the terrified, mentally ill woman underneath. I never meant to hurt them. she whispered. I just wanted to be a good mother. After Linda died, they needed someone to love them. And David was always working. He cared more about his career than his children. That's not true, Mark said gently. From what I understand, David has been searching for them every single day for 3 years. The gun in Sarah's hand was trembling. Hell, take them away from me. Hell, make sure I never see them again. Maybe, I said carefully. But right now, Emma needs medical attention. Whatever happens between you and David, Emma's health has to come first. Sarah looked at the gun in her hand as if she'd just realized she was holding it. I never wanted it to come to this. I just wanted to be a family. We can still work this out, Mark said. But we have to put the children's welfare first. Suddenly, Emma appeared in the doorway again. Mama, why do you have Daddy Mark's gun? Sarah quickly put the weapon back in the drawer. I was just checking on something, sweetheart. Are you finished packing? I don't want to go, Emma said quietly. I like my school here. I like Miss Johnson. Sarah knelt down and pulled Emma into a hug. I know, baby, but sometimes we have to do things we don't want to do. Like when we left the house with the big tree. Sarah's hug tightened. Yes, like that. I miss my other daddy, Emma said innocently, the one who used to sing to me when I was scared. I watched Sarah's face as the weight of what she'd done finally began to sink in. That evening, while Sarah was putting Tyler to bed, Emma came to sit next to me on the living room couch. She'd always been an intuitive child, sensitive to the emotional currents around her. Grandma Dana, are you sad? I pulled her closer to me, breathing in the familiar scent of her strawberry shampoo. A little bit, sweetheart. Sometimes grown-ups have to make difficult decisions. Is it about my other daddy? My heart nearly stopped. What do you remember about your other daddy, Emma? She was quiet for a long moment, twirling a strand of her dark hair around her finger the way she always did when she was thinking hard. He had gentle hands. When I was little and had bad dreams, he would sit by my bed and tell me stories about brave princesses. He smelled like the mints he kept in his pocket. Tears started forming in my eyes. What else do you remember? He had a picture of Mama Linda on his desk. She was pretty like an angel. He told me that Mama Linda was watching over me from heaven. Tyler wandered into the living room, having escaped from Sarah's bedtime routine. Are we talking about Daddy David? Emma nodded. I remember him too. He taught me how to ride my pink bicycle with the streamers on the handles. And he made the best pancakes, Tyler added, climbing onto the couch next to us. They looked like Mickey Mouse. I realized that the children's memories of their real father had been suppressed but never erased. 3 years of Sarah telling them he didn't love them anymore couldn't completely overwrite their early attachment. Do you miss him? I asked gently. Emma nodded solemnly. Sometimes I dream about him. But Mama Sarah says dreams aren't real. What if I told you that your other daddy, David, has been looking for you and Tyler for a very long time? Tyler's eyes widened. Really? Why didn't he come find us? Has been trying to, sweetheart. But sometimes it's hard for grown-ups to find each other when they get separated. Emma's expression grew thoughtful. Is that why we moved so many times? So he couldn't find us? The insight of children never ceased to amaze me. What do you think, Emma? I think maybe Mama Sarah was scared. Sometimes when people are scared, they make bad choices. At that moment, Sarah appeared at the bottom of the stairs. She'd obviously been listening to our conversation, and her face was a mixture of panic and resignation. Emma, Tyler, it's time for bed. Can Grandma Dana read us a story? Tyler asked. Not tonight. We have a big day tomorrow. But Emma didn't move from the couch. Mama Sarah, why did we leave Daddy David? Sarah sat down across from us, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. For the first time since I'd known her, she looked genuinely vulnerable. Because I thought he didn't love you enough. And I thought I could love you better. But he did love us, Tyler said simply. He told us every night before bed. Sarah's composure finally cracked completely. You're right, Tyler. He did love you. I was wrong. Emma slipped off the couch and walked over to Sarah. Are you going to take us back to him? I don't know, sweetheart. It's complicated. I want to see him, Emma said quietly. I want to tell him I missed him. Sarah pulled Emma into her arms, both of them crying now. I'm so sorry, baby. I thought I was protecting you. But I think I might have been protecting myself. Mark had been standing in the doorway, listening. He came and sat next to Sarah, putting his arm around her shoulders. Sarah, these children love you. You've been a good mother to them in many ways, but they also love their real father, and he deserves to know they're safe. What's going to happen to me, Mark? I don't know. But whatever happens, we'll figure it out together. Emma suddenly stepped back from Sarah, her hand clutching her chest. Her breathing became labored, and her lips started turning slightly blue. Emma! I jumped up as she collapsed onto the floor. Sarah dropped down beside her, panic overtaking everything else. Call 911. Mark was already dialing while I knelt next to Emma, trying to remember my basic first aid training. Her pulse was rapid and irregular. Emma, sweetheart, stay with us. Tyler started crying, scared by seeing his sister in distress. Sarah gathered him into her arms while continuing to kneel next to Emma. This is my fault, Sarah whispered. Oh God, this is all my fault. The paramedics arrived within 6 minutes, but it felt like an eternity. They quickly assessed Emma's condition and loaded her into the ambulance. She needs to get to Children's Hospital immediately, one of the paramedics told us. Are you her parents? Sarah hesitated for just a moment before saying, I'm her mother. This is her father. At the hospital, while Emma was being stabilized in the emergency room, Sarah sat in the waiting area with her head in her hands. The doctor wants to know about Emma's medical history, Mark said, returning from speaking with the medical team. They need to know what medications she's been taking. Sarah looked up with tears streaming down her face. I don't know. I've been giving her children's vitamins and iron supplements. I thought that's all she needed. Sarah, you have to tell them the truth. Emma's life might depend on it. She nodded slowly, then walked to the nurse's station. I watched her speak with the head nurse, saw the woman's expression change from professional calm to urgent concern. Within an hour, the hospital had contacted David Chen in Portland and received Emma's complete medical file. The doctor who came to speak with us was grave but reassuring. Emma is stable now, but she's been without her heart medication for too long. We're going to need to keep her here for several days to get her condition regulated again. Sarah stood up abruptly. Doctor, I need to tell you something. My name isn't really Sarah Collins. It's Jennifer Walsh. Emma's real name is Lily Chen, and her father is Dr. David Chen in Portland. The doctor's eyebrows raised slightly, but to his credit, he remained professional. I see. We've already been in contact with Dr. Chen. He's driving down tonight to be here for his daughter. Is she going to be okay? With proper treatment, children with her condition can live normal, healthy lives, but she'll need ongoing care from a pediatric cardiologist. Sarah nodded, then walked back to where Tyler was sleeping in one of the waiting room chairs. She gently stroked his hair. I almost killed her, she whispered to me. In trying to love her, I almost killed her. David Chen arrived at the hospital at 3 o'clock in the morning. I was dozing in the waiting room chair when I heard a commotion at the nurse's station. A tall, distinguished-looking man in casual clothes was speaking urgently with the staff. I'm Dr. David Chen. I'm here for my daughter, Lily Chen. She was brought in earlier tonight. I nudged Sarah awake. She looked up, saw David, and her face went completely white. For a moment, neither of them moved. 3 years of searching and running culminated in this sterile hospital waiting room at 3 in the morning. David approached slowly, his eyes taking in Tyler sleeping in Sarah's arms, and then focusing on Sarah herself. Jennifer. David. Her voice was barely a whisper. Is she all right? She's stable. They have her on the right medication now. David's composure broke slightly. Thank you. Thank you for bringing her to the hospital. I stood up to introduce myself. Dr. Chen, I'm Dana Patterson. I've been caring for your children as my daughter-in-law's mother. I want you to know how sorry I am for what you've been through. He shook my hand, his grip firm but gentle. Mrs. Patterson, Detective Rodriguez told me about your situation. I understand you and your son were victims in this as well. Dr. Chen, Mark Patterson. I've been helping to raise your children for the past 2 years. They're amazing kids. David studied Mark's face carefully. Detective Rodriguez told me you've been a good father figure to them. I'm grateful for that. The four of us sat down together, an unlikely group brought together by impossible circumstances. Can I see her? David asked. She's sleeping, Sarah said. But yes, the nurse said you could go in. David looked at Tyler, still asleep in Sarah's arms. And Mason. Tyler. Sarah corrected gently. He goes by Tyler now. Does he remember me? More than you might expect. They both do. David's eyes filled with tears. I was so afraid they would forget me completely. Children don't forget love, I said. It might take time for them to readjust, but the foundation is still there. A nurse approached us. Dr. Chen, your daughter is awake. She's asking for her mama, but when we told her you were here, she got very excited. David stood up, then turned back to Sarah. Would you come with me? I think it might be easier for her if you're there too. Sarah looked surprised. You want me there? Jennifer, I'm angry about what you did. I may never fully forgive you for the 3 years of hell you put me through. But you've been caring for my children. And they love you. Right now, Lily's health is the most important thing. We all walked to Emma's room together. She was sitting up in the hospital bed, looking small and fragile with wires attached to her chest. Mama Sarah, she called out when she saw us. Hi, sweetheart. How are you feeling? Better. The doctor gave me special medicine. Emma's eyes moved to David, and for a moment, she looked uncertain. David approached the bed slowly. Hi, Lily. My name is Emma now, she said softly. You can be Emma if you want to be Emma. I just want you to be healthy and happy. Emma studied his face carefully. You look like my dreams. David's voice broke. Do you remember me? Emma nodded slowly. You used to read me the book about the mouse who wanted a cookie, and you used to fall asleep before we got to the end. A smile spread across Emma's face, and you would finish it anyway. Just in case you were still listening. Tyler had woken up in the waiting room and was now standing in the doorway with Mark. Daddy David. David turned around, and his face lit up completely. Mason. Oh my God, look how big you are. Tyler ran to the bed and climbed up next to Emma. We missed you, Daddy David. David sat down on the edge of the bed, gathering both children in his arms. All 3 of them were crying. But they were happy tears. Sarah stepped back, giving them space, but Emma reached out her hand. Mama Sarah, come here. It's okay, sweetheart. This is your time with Daddy David. I want all my family together, Emma insisted. So we all crowded around that hospital bed, 2 fathers, 2 mothers, 2 children, and 1 grandmother, trying to figure out how to be a family in the most unconventional way possible. Over the next 3 days, while Emma recovered in the hospital, we worked out a plan with Detective Rodriguez and a family therapist. David would take the children back to Portland, but Sarah would not be arrested immediately. Instead, she would undergo psychological evaluation and treatment. The children have been through enough trauma, the therapist explained. Arresting their mother figure right now could cause additional damage. David agreed to this arrangement, with the condition that Sarah enter treatment immediately and that all contact with the children be supervised until she was cleared by mental health professionals. I want them to know I'm getting help, Sarah told the therapist. I want them to understand that what I did was wrong, but it came from a place of love, not malice. Mark decided to move to Portland as well, at least temporarily. Those kids have been my children for 2 years, he explained. I can't just disappear from their lives overnight. David, remarkably, supported this decision. I've learned something about love these past few days. Love multiplies, it doesn't divide. The children can have multiple people who care about them. I made the decision to move to Sacramento, halfway between Portland and wherever Sarah would be receiving treatment. I wanted to be available to help with the children's transition and to support whatever came next for my son and daughter-in-law. On Emma's last day in the hospital, she asked me a question that broke my heart. Grandma Dana, are you still going to be my grandma even though I'm not really your granddaughter? I pulled her close. Emma, Sweetheart, love doesn't work that way. Once someone becomes your family, they stay your family forever. Even if we live far away. Especially then. That's when family becomes most important. 6 months later, I was sitting in David Chen's backyard in Portland, watching Emma and Tyler play on the swing set that Head rebuilt for their homecoming. The children had adjusted remarkably well, though it hadn't been without challenges. Emma, whose medical condition was now properly managed, had regained the rosy complexion and energy that had been missing during our time in Arizona. Tyler had grown 2 inches and developed an obsession with dinosaurs, just like his father. "Grandma Dana, watch me," Emma called from the top of the monkey bars. "Be careful, sweetheart." David joined me on the patio, carrying 2 cups of coffee. At 42, he looked younger than he had 6 months ago. The constant stress of searching for his children finally lifted from his shoulders. "How are they doing in school?" "Better than I expected. The counselor says they're both resilient kids. Emma still has nightmares sometimes, and Tyler asks when he's going to see Mark and Sarah again. But overall, they're healing." Mark had stayed in Portland for 4 months, helping the children transition back to life with their father. Head found work with a local construction company and rented a small apartment across town. Every Sunday, he took Emma and Tyler to the zoo or the children's museum, giving David a much-needed break and maintaining the father-child bond Head developed. "How's Sarah doing?" I asked. "Jennifer," David corrected gently. Head made the decision to use her real name as part of her recovery process. "Dr. Martinez says she's making progress. The medication is helping with her anxiety and depression, and she's starting to understand the impact of her actions." Sarah was in a residential treatment facility about 3 hours away. She'd been diagnosed with severe depression and delusional disorder, likely triggered by the trauma of losing her own mother at a young age and then watching Linda Chen die of cancer. "The children ask about her every week," I said. "I know. Dr. Martinez thinks supervised visits might be possible in another few months, once Jennifer has demonstrated consistent progress in therapy." I watched Tyler push Emma on the tire swing, both of them giggling with pure joy. "Do you think you'll ever be able to forgive her?" David was quiet for a long moment. "I'm working on it, for the children's sake and for my own peace of mind. What she did was unforgivable, but the person who did it was sick. The person who's in treatment now is different. You're a remarkable man, David. I'm just a father who wants his children to be whole. That includes helping them process their relationship with Jennifer in a healthy way." The sliding door opened, and Mark stepped out onto the patio. Head driven up from his new job in Eugene, where Head relocated after deciding to start fresh in Oregon. "Uncle Mark." Tyler ran to him, using the title that had evolved naturally over the past few months. "Hey, buddy. Did you finish that dinosaur puzzle we started?" "Almost. Daddy David helped me find the Triceratops head." I marveled at how naturally the children had integrated their multiple parental figures. David was Daddy, Mark was Uncle Mark, and I remained Grandma Dana. Sarah, when she was mentioned, was referred to as Mama Jennifer, acknowledging both her role in their lives and her true identity. "How's Jennifer doing?" Mark asked David. "Dr. Martinez says she's been asking about the baby." Mark's face clouded slightly. Sarah had lost the baby during her 2nd month in treatment, a miscarriage brought on by stress and the medication adjustments. It had been a devastating setback in her recovery. "I think about that baby sometimes," Mark said quietly. "What it would have been like to have a child who was actually mine from the beginning. Maybe someday you'll have that opportunity," I said, squeezing his hand. "You're a wonderful father, Mark. Any child would be lucky to have you. Right now, I'm focused on being the best uncle I can be to these 2. Emma ran over to us, out of breath from playing. "Daddy, can we call Grandpa Chen tonight? I want to tell him about my science project." David's father had flown in from Taiwan the month before to meet his grandchildren. The reunion had been emotional and healing for everyone involved. "Of course, sweetheart. Has been asking about your volcano experiment." As the afternoon wore on, I found myself reflecting on the journey that had brought us all here. 6 months ago, Id thought I was living in a perfect family situation. Id had a loving son, a daughter-in-law I adored, and 2 precious grandchildren. but that perfection had been built on lies and stolen innocence. The family I had now was messier, more complicated, but it was built on truth and genuine love. Emma ran up to me with a dandelion shed picked from the yard. "Make a wish, Grandma Dana." I closed my eyes and blew the seeds into the warm spring air. My wish was simple, that all children who had been separated from their families would find their way home, and that all adults who had lost their way would find the help they needed to heal. "What did you wish for?" Emma asked. "I wished for families to be together," I said. "But we are together," Tyler pointed out, climbing onto my lap. He was right, we were together. Just not in the way any of us had expected. David had his children back, but Head also gained an extended family. Mark had lost his wife and stepchildren, but Head gained the lifelong role of uncle to two amazing kids. I'd lost my nearby grandchildren, but I'd gained a son-in-law who valued my continued presence in their lives. And Sarah, Jennifer, was getting the help Shed needed for years but had never received. "David," I said that evening as we cleaned up after dinner, "do you think the children will be okay? Long term, I mean." "I think so. They've been through trauma, but they've also been surrounded by love. Not just from Jennifer, but from you and Mark as well. That love is part of who they are now. Even though it began with deception. The deception was Jennifer's. The love was real. You can't fake the kind of devotion you've shown these children, Dana. That's going to stay with them forever." As I prepared to drive back to Sacramento that evening, Emma hugged me tightly. "I love you, Grandma Dana. Thank you for taking care of me when I was sick. I love you too, sweetheart. I'll always be here when you need me, even when I'm grown up. Especially then." The drive home gave me time to think about the lessons this experience had taught me. I'd learned that family isn't always about blood, relationships, or legal documents. Family is about showing up, day after day, putting children's needs before your own desires, and loving people even when they make terrible mistakes. I'd learned that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is let go, even when it breaks your heart. I could have fought to keep Emma and Tyler in Arizona, could have supported Sarah's delusions because it meant keeping my grandchildren close, but love means doing what's best for the people you care about, even when it costs you everything. I'd learned that healing is possible, even from the deepest betrayals. David's willingness to include Mark and me in his children's lives, despite what we represented, showed a depth of forgiveness I hadn't known was possible. Most importantly, I'd learned that children are remarkably resilient when they're surrounded by adults who prioritize their well-being over their own emotional needs. As I pulled into my driveway in Sacramento, I felt a sense of peace I hadn't experienced in months. My phone buzzed with a text from Tyler. "Good night, Grandma Dana. Daddy David says you can come back next weekend." I smiled, thinking about the unconventional family we'd become. We weren't the family any of us had planned for, but we were the family we'd chosen to create together. And sometimes, chosen family is the strongest kind of all. Now, I want to ask you something important. Have you ever been in a situation where doing the right thing meant losing something precious to you? How do you balance protecting the people you love with standing up for what's right? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If this story touched your heart, please like this video to let me know. Subscribe to my channel for more stories about the complex ways families come together and sometimes fall apart. And please share this with someone who might need to hear a story about how love can heal even the deepest wounds. Thank you for listening to my story today. Remember, sometimes the families we create are just as important as the ones we're born into. Until next time, may you always have the courage to choose love over comfort and truth over convenience. Take care, and I'll see you in the next story.